So you've been talking for a while about talking about my beginnings and where how I got here, and coming from back east and everything. So I figured we'd give people what they want because they seem to be interested for it for some reason. So I want to talk about mostly the Max Muscle days, which is basically what everything kind of started when we met. And obviously we'll have to give Scotty a shout out, our buddy Scotty, because he's actually the one who introduced me to you in 2001 at the Arnold Classic. I remember you were having lunch with Carrie at the DoubleTree. I remember it was yesterday. You were sitting at the little table with both of you guys, just like tattooed in my brain for some reason. And it was like a 30-second conversation. Hi, it's my friend Jay, Carrie. I shook your hand and I left, and that was it. But I came from from Canada, from Montreal. I moved here in '93, and big fan of bodybuilding, of course. When I was younger, I started training around I would say 18 also. I did my first competition and everything, and I...
You had a mullet.
Yeah. I didn't have long hair.
You had a mullet, dude.
I know. I was into martial arts back then.
Did you speak English?
Hardly any. I learned English when I moved here and actually started going to the movie theaters. And because I love the movies a lot, I would go to the cheapy movie theater. And it was like movies at $2, $3. And I would hop from movies to movies because, of course, I didn't have a job. And then that's how I kind of learned. I picked up 50% and 60%, and eventually I kind of just got it all.
All right, well, tell your story. So you were a bodybuilder, like you loved bodybuilding. And you were in Montreal.
And I was actually in this little town called Laval, which is close. It's a different island close to Montreal. And I worked in a teeny tiny gym called Atlantis, which they still have. It's a chain over there. An ex-Mr. Canada actually owned it. And it was a small gym.
What were you doing there?
At the gym?
Yeah.
I just, training, and a couple of my buddies were competing and everything, and I remember training every day and reading the magazines and just like you and stuff, but I remember back then I was like, oh, what I would give to see what's going on in Venice, see what's going on at Gold, see what's going on in California, and we had no access back then. Even the magazines weren't that great because it's Canada, so I was like, man, I wish I could have a way to see what's going on over there. And I think a lot of what I do today with us, I'm thinking back in those days when I'm like, oh my God, so those poor people who are in different countries all around the world, they have no access to this. I'm like, so I'm giving them we're giving to them what I couldn't have back then, which is basically a view of what's going on in your life and that goals. And to me, it's awesome for motivation when you're young and just getting started,
So, but you were learning from the magazines, though.
Yeah, my friends at the gym and everything. And I didn't do things right.
There was no media then. There was no YouTube.
No, I just...
So how did you learn about bodybuilding?
Well, the guy who owned the gym was actually a competitor, so he helped me out.
Okay, but did you read magazines then?
I read, but a lot of times they were in English, and I didn't understand
English. But you saw the pictures.
Yeah, I saw the pictures, and I remember all the pictures of Labrada and,
Who was your favorite back then?
I like Labrada a lot. Of course,
was he second in Olympia then?
Yeah, Sean Ray was one of my favorites, which is funny because when I first moved to Cali in '93, the first pro I ever saw at Powerhouse and Indian Gym was Sean Ray, and I was like, holy shit.
Really?
Yeah.
What was he training in at the time? You know what he was wearing?
He was wearing the black tights with the bushy socks and the atomic shoes and the shades and the rag on top. I remember.
Really?
Yeah. When I first moved to Cali in '93, all I did the first month is go train at Huntington Beach at the Powerhouse, park my car in the structure, work out, and go to the beach for a month straight.
And Sean trained there?
Yeah, because he was...
What kind of car did he pull up in when he trained there?
I didn't know what he was driving and stuff.
But he always had nice cars.
Always. But he had a condo on Superior at Newport Beach that time. That's where it was close. They would go there. Yeah. Yeah, that was something to see him the first time. So yeah, and I remember I just so wanted to come here. And the first time I ever came was in '91. My dad actually told me, hey, I know you've always wanted to come to California. How about I take you to a trip to California, because he didn't speak any English, but he liked the States. We went to New York a couple of times on those bus tour and everything. So yeah, we went here.
We flew to California.
We flew to California. We came here for 10 days, and I wanted to come and see it for myself because you see it on TV, like you said, on Chips and all those movies, and you imagine it a certain way in your head. You're like, okay, well, I can't move somewhere just because.
What year was this?
'91.
Okay.
So I wanted to come and experience for myself, just to see if what I was thinking was really the real thing.
So you were...
I was young.
You were 17
19,
or 18?
19.
Okay, you're right. You're a couple years older than me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I came here for 10 days, it was even better than I thought it was going to be. I was so depressed when I had to go back after the trip for 10 days.
So
And
what did you see? What were the highlights of your trip?
we went to Vegas. We went to Laguna Niguel, which is close to where you were living.
Yeah.
Laguna Hills. We had some friends in Laguna Hills. We went to...
Not like Universal Studios?
No, we kind of just sightseeing.
Hollywood, and did you see the Hollywood sign at that point?
I don't think so. No.
But you flew to LAX.
Flew to LAX. It was such a pain to actually get out of that LAX the first time. It's so confusing, yeah. Because we rented a car and I'm thinking, but all those freeways.
You didn't have
GPS.
GPS. No. You had a fucking maps or something .com or something.
Those Thomas guys.
Yeah.
Remember those Thomas guys?
Yeah.
Oh my God! And I remember it was just so unbelievable, and I was just so. I came with my ex-girlfriend, my dad, and after 10 days, I'm like, I can't believe I have to go home, you know. And she actually beat me to the punch. My ex-girlfriend at the time, she went back home, and like a few months later, she was back over here. She moved. It took me a year and a half to try to save my money to say, okay, I'm moving. And I would tell my friends, I'm moving to California. I'm going to make a live over there. I'm going to be a pro bodybuilder.
And you were still working at the gym at this point, so you weren't making a ton of money.
I wasn't even working at the gym. I just had odd jobs, and I was still going to school and everything.
Okay, so you saved up how much money did you save?
Okay, so this is what happened. For a year and a half, I'm telling people I'm moving to Cali. I'm going to be a pro bodybuilder. I'm going to become famous, all this stuff. And my friends are like, you're fucking crazy. Everybody wants to move to LA. Everybody wants to be famous. And it just made fun of me, you know. I told them I'm going to be Schwarzenegger. I'm going to be Stallone. They're like, yeah, which of course I have. And then, so it took me a year and a half to try to save my money. But every time I would try to get ahead, something would happen. My car would break down, my engine would blow up, and it would go back to zero every time.
All right, so but you thought about the acting stuff. You were you were into karate,
yes,
right?
Yes, I was a black belt, second degree actually.
Second degree black belt.
Yeah.
So you were. So do you think, okay, I can be an action star?
I could possibly, but I was really in love with bodybuilding. But I'm like, it's a skill. It's always good to have, you know. So finally, what happened? And I remember when I was over there, people always say in the comments, "Oh, Dave's always so happy. He's always in a good mood and stuff." It was so not me back home. If you had known me when I was living in Canada, I was the worst.
Really?
I was always depressed. I was always negative. I was always bitching, because unfortunately I'm someone who's my mood depends on my environment. So if it's gray outside, you know how it is when it's raining.
Yeah, you call me when it rains and you're like, fuck.
I'm so depressed all the time, and it seems like people back home are always so not happy, not happy about their job, not happy about the weather. Everybody's always, it's like that back home. So I didn't want to be in that. I just didn't like myself. So I wanted to move here. I felt, okay, once I'm here, I'm going to be happy every day. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. But eventually what happens is that every time I was trying to save money, I would always back to zero. So I said, you know what, that's it. I don't give a shit what happened. I'm selling everything I own. I'm selling my nice car, a little MR2 with the T-top, Toyota MR2. I sold that for $5,000. But I had blown the engine, so basically it cost me $4,500 to fix it, so I could sell it for $5,000. And I basically sold everything, bought a piece of shit Monte Carlo with no spare tire in the trunk, put enough money on it so it would actually run all the way over here. And by the time I changed my money, which at the time I think we lost like 35%. So basically, by the time I changed my money in US dollar, I had $450 to make my trip to come here and to start my life. And by the time I was done driving 7 days, all across, and arrived to California, I had $150 left.
And where were you sleeping along the way? What were you eating?
Little hotels.
And what'd you eat?
We'd stop at grocery stores, and I had like a little hot plate. And
you were still in good shape then?
I was small.
All right, so you landed in California.
Yeah.
Do you remember the date?
I crossed the border March 13, 1993. Yeah. And I remember that as soon as we crossed the border, I was like, and the gas was like 99 cents a gallon. I remember. It was so cheap. But it was like...
They go by the liter in Canada, right?
Yeah. But it's at least twice as much over there. So... and I never regret it. And my parents always told me, listen, go, it'll be experience. And even if you don't call us, send us a plane ticket to come back, that never crossed my mind. And trust me, I slept on a lot of floors. For the first year, I never actually had any furniture. I had basically my car, my clothes with me. I moved 13 times the first year because I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where.
You were staying with friends and stuff.
Friends for like 3 weeks. But then, I hooked up with my ex-girlfriend. She gave us a place to stay a little bit. Yeah. And then I moved with my girlfriend at the time too. So it ended up being too much for her. That was my dream, not her. She kind of just followed.
So she went back?
She went back, yeah. And then after a year, people always say if you can tough it a year, then you'll be okay because you'll meet people, you make connections.
So you got out here and then what was your first job?
Okay, so because I was here, I don't want to say illegally, but I wasn't, I didn't have the proper paperwork. I just started, because I was in good shape, I started, became an exotic dancer. So I actually saw an ad in the newspaper saying they were looking for people to go on tour. So I applied and I was making like $1,000 cash.
So you were Chippendale.
Yeah, for like a few months.
Dave Morley, the Chippendale. So you had a mullet and you were wearing a G-string.
Yeah. Yeah, I sold my G-string for like $350 one time.
Wow. Fuck, I don't even think I sold my trunks for that much.
I'm sure you could have.
Yeah.
But that's it. So that's how. And eventually, what happened is I got married in '98, and that's when I started working for Max Muscle, and that was my first real job for Joe Wells and Sean. And that's when I started going to the Arnold with them, and then.
Were you speaking English by then?
Yeah, but that wasn't great. I told him recently. I said I can't even believe you gave me the job because it was a big company.
Well, Joe's living in Vegas now. So.
Yeah. And he said he saw passion in me, and even though I wasn't, the normal hire that he would pick, he.
Yeah, but you were great at selling supplements. Bro.
I was great.
We'll talk a little bit about that, but like you worked, so you started selling at you worked at what, the Newport store?
The San Dimas store was the first one I got because the manager was leaving. And after 1 month, I increased their set by like 33%, so I became like the superstar. They only owned at the time, corporate owned Venice, San Dimas, and Orange.
And who was running Venice at the time?
Marcus Kittler. I don't think you know him. It was right after Rob. You know the guy who did the USA? What's his name? Rob? That wasn't Rob. Craig Reed.
Yeah.
Greg Reed.
Greg Reed. Yeah.
He was running it. He used to tell
big.
people. He got like third at the USA one time.
Yeah.
So he left, or he went for Gorilla Wear at the time because they were all there on Main Street. And then, from there, I went to go spend 1 day to train with Marcus. And they promoted me from the San Dimas store to the Orange store, which basically was a bigger store. And eventually from them, I got promoted to regional manager. So I was in charge of Venice, Orange, and San Dimas, all three. And I love coming to Venice because it's one where I store because I would see all the pros coming in.
And that's when it was behind the firehouse. It was in that location.
Right, next to Fresh to Go.
Super small store.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, the store wasn't
850 square feet.
Not bigger than this office, really. It wasn't that big.
850 square feet, I remember.
But it used to sell a lot of volume out of it. The clothes were hot then, and the products weren't even as hot then. It was more clothes.
It was more clothes. Max Muscle, everyone was wearing Max Muscle. If you go to a competition, you'd see someone wearing something.
And they were cutting and sewing in their place
in the warehouse.
In Santa Ana, right?
Yeah, and what was great back then is that Joe was really on the bodybuilder side. So what would Joe do, the CEO of the company, he'd say, okay, this is Venice. There's tons of pros all the time. We're going to allocate $100 of free clothing per month to every pros that come by. So when they have photo shoot, they come to Venice, they would come by the store, pick up some stuff, and that's how I got to know all the pros.
Yeah. And
that was great.
And they had the little figurehead at the time with the kind of similar to mine.
The little Indian head.
Yeah.
So that was great, and that's kind of how. And then we met at the Arnold the first time. But I remember the first time we actually really got contact is when you went back home and you skipped the Olympia. I sent you an email. I said, hey, do you remember I'm Dave? From Scotty's friends, and I noticed you were on Max Muscle in your clothing video. I work for the company, so if you want, I'll send you some free stuff. You can wear your video. And you said, oh yeah, cool. And you sent me a free DVD.
I'll shoot my DVDs then,
Yeah, you sent me a free VHS, which was a cut above.
Yeah. And
a free picture, and you didn't charge me nothing. You said, oh no, any of Scotty's friends are my friends. And that's kind of how we got started with the whole thing. And then from there, you basically got your contract clothing with Max Muscle, which no one had at the time. Nobody had clothing contract.
I had a clothing contract.
And 03,
Yeah, and they would... I remember they went and did pictures. I think Jason Ellis shot me on a forklift in the thing.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Some of those black and white shots, but I remember going to the warehouse, bro, and just getting so much stuff, like loading up, and they were paying me a monthly, so we were plugging it, and and then of course the Max Muscle Venice came about for sale. I mean, Wheeler had it, right?
Yeah, so I want to tell the story about it. It's actually a really cool story. I remember Wheeler had it, and Robin was actually in that store for a year, Robin Chang, before he actually became promoter of the Olympia in 2004. So I bought it with Scotty from them in 2004 because Robin wanted out big time. He didn't want to do this. And that's when I became partial owner or co-owner with Scotty at the time, our friend Scotty. And I remember going to these Olympia with you. And do you remember our routine after every Olympia would be to lose the show before 06, drive to Alex Ardenti's studio to do the photo for Chic Sports.
Yeah.
And every time we tell each other, that's okay, next year we're going to get him. Next year we're going to... You remember that?
Yeah.
Like it was yesterday. I remember that. And then one year, I remember you told me, I think it was from the year from 05 to 06, you said to me, when I win that title, once I win that title, I want to put my name on the store for you. And I thought you were kind of just kidding. I thought you were just joking. Okay, you know. Yeah. And then 06 came, and you won the title, and you said, okay, let's do it. I'm going to put my name on the store. And I was like, what do you mean? And you're like, we're just going to call it Jay Cutler's Max Muscle. And you did this, and most people don't know, but Max Muscle at the time, that was a huge uproar because all the other store owners were so jealous, I remember. But you did this, I don't want to say off the book, but you did it like unofficially, meaning like you never asked for any money. You never asked for, part of the profit. Why did you do this? I mean, I always so much appreciated it, but why would you do that? That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it was branding, it was part of I wanted to kind of solidify myself in there. We had worked together, you were my manager at the time, if you remember.
That's right.
You were now manager Dave.
That's
so
right.
you were booking appearances for me.
That's true.
I said, hey, why don't you handle a lot of this stuff? Even though Kerry was in the mix and I was handling a lot of my own stuff, but I'd say, hey, why don't you, because remember, Max Muscles at the time, part of my contract is Max Muscle stores, I was like the dedicated guy.
That's right.
So like if a Max Muscle store, and there were hundreds at the time or whatever, I don't even know how many there were, but
120.
like I could book one every weekend. So they had a list like, okay, here's your athletes that are available. And I think Sean was on there and whatever, but he would retire or whatever. So like I was the head guy. Everyone's like, oh, we want Jay Cutler. So I mean, I was booking every single week. I think I was getting $5,000 an appearance for each store. So you'd be like, handle that because you're already affiliated. A lot of those guys you had trained because you remember they had the Max Muscle store at the headquarters, right? Yeah. So you would put people in there for a week. Yeah. They'd fly in when they became a franchisee, and you would teach them, okay, this is how you sell. Here's someone walking up to the cash register. I mean, it had to set up like a store, right? Yeah. So they basically did mock whatever sales, and this is how you sell this product, that product. I mean, there were so many other things because clothing had started to kind of be like the back end. It was more the supplements started taking over, right? So, you had trained all these people, so you had relationships already. So I'm like, hey, you handle this, and then I had you handling the overseas stuff. And
that's true.
You remember we booked all those appearances for like $20,000. Like it was like week after week after week. I remember that one month it was like 3 appearances overseas in a month, and you were kind of like helping with the contracts and getting people to sign and stuff, chasing people down basically. We were running the charity camps at the time, you remember?
That's right.
We did the Make-A-Wish Foundation and we were donating all the money to Make-A-Wish until we met some of the people like Per and all these people like came out, and I would only limit it to like 3 to 6 people, I think.
6 max,
And people were signing up and it was for the charity. I mean, we trained at Gold's Venice. I was just trying to do something that really put us like, and gave back, right? Yeah. And I think that whole Max Muscle thing, if you remember, I mean, it's like you went to Gold's Gym Venice, but you also had to go to Max Muscle Venice, right? So I wanted to be part of it, and then eventually it led to me owning. I just remember a couple of times I put money into the store, and I don't know what it was for, but I took over. I was actually a partner at some point, I thought, at the store or something.
You did, but in 06, but that's my point. You never asked for any part of the proceeds.
Well, because it really didn't make a ton of money, right?
I know.
It didn't make a ton of money. It was more like, and you were driving it even at the time. I mean, the kids were young then. Your kids were young, and it was like every day you were spending the whole days there. I remember, could you call? I mean, like, how'd the store do in sales day? And you were like, oh, we had a bad day. And there'd be some days people didn't even come in, and other days it was like abundance. And we do the big parties there. Yeah. But dude, the good thing is that every pro would come support you. Back then it was like, oh, you have to pay me $5,000. You didn't pay anyone to come. No. You were just like, hey, I'm having an event. Let's do this, right?
Everyone came. Yeah.
So everyone would come out and support it because it's right in Venice. And I remember even the Melvin Anthonys and those people, they used to drive around the block. Remember with the radio? They would just drive around. It was like,
there was never any parking.
Dude, they would just drive, and they would look for places in the firehouse, and they'd be thumping their music, and everyone coming, Cormier be coming playing video games on their couch. And,
Dorian, everybody.
They would just come and just hang out because you had the couch and you had your, you
PlayStation.
Do your stuff for the magazines, and you started working with Flex and Muscle and Fitness, and and then muscular development. I mean,
I never made any money in that store per se, but it opened so many doors.
Well, you made
of
enough to
opportunity.
pay the bills, and I mean,
Yeah,
you were
to
still
survive.
paying stuff,
Yeah.
but I mean, it wasn't a cash cow. People
No.
would think, oh, it was a, you know, you got to own multiple stores in order to be successful. I think, you know what I mean.
But when I ran the store, I
The
made a
rent
lot of
was
money.
super expensive. That
I
was
know,
the problem.
Almost 5,000.
Yeah, so it was a A+ location. Fresh to Go was next door, so there was
Yeah.
a restaurant next door. That was another like health spot,
Yeah.
comparable to Firehouse. Firehouse was a lot busier on the bodybuilding side back then than
Yeah.
it is now.
No, it's almost closed all the time, the bodybuilding side.
But I mean, like a lot of people would. It was like they went from Gold's Gym Venice to Firehouse.
Yeah.
They had to go there and eat. Now it's not as much, right? Because
Yeah.
the parking was always terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they now open up more lots, but I just loved it, man. I mean, I loved being around the bodybuilding. I loved supporting my friends, and I think, you know, I just wanted to be part of it. I mean, I think that's the main thing is,
That was
you know,
great.
it was Jay Cutler's Max Muscle. I
That was
mean,
awesome.
I was traveling around the United States going every Max Muscle. You know, Dominic used to bring me to all his stores up in Oregon, and you know, we did so many. Remember, we did that one in San Diego that time after Olympia, and
Missoula, Jeff.
yeah, we did Jeff out in Missoula.
We're gonna see Jeff soon. He's
yeah.
actually in Vegas now.
And you know, we did Rancho Cucamonga a couple times. That store was there. There were just so many different appearances we went to. I mean, and you traveled with me to some of them. They would bring you in, just like kind of the manager guy, and you know, that's before we were doing all the crazy media. So now we're here doing all this stuff. I think it's just awesome that we're able to,
Still
you
do
know,
it.
continue to you know, inspire people. And I wanted people to hear your story because, like, you came with a dream, right?
Yeah.
And now you're a full-time bodybuilder.
All right. So what you were saying in the last video when you said you get up at 6:30, eat your food, go to the gym, that's a full-time bodybuilder. Come home now, that's a full-time bodybuilder. Just for the record.
Yeah, but dude, you drive 6 hours a day to go to the gym.
I know, but it's
know
work at the
it's
same
work
time.
too,
Yeah, that's the way I spend it, you know.
So you guys that do meet Dave at Gold's Venice, make sure you little consider it because he does drive 5 hours a day to be at that gym and do his business. But you love to train, right? I mean,
Yes, I do love to
you
train.
say every day like you are living the dream. Like this is the best. Is this the best job you ever had? Now?
I'll forget it, dude. And it's funny because, you know, sometimes you go through certain, you know, jobs or certain company, and when I look back, you know, sometimes at the time you think, oh, this is so unfair. Like when I lost my job with MD and things didn't work out in the end with Muscle Insider, and you're like, oh man, this sucks. I have to start over every time. But now you look back, and you're like, yeah, this is all training to bring you to where you are today. And now I'm like so glad that things didn't work out because we wouldn't have this. And I couldn't think anything better than the situation I'm in now because I get to work with you all the time. We get to hang out. I remember back in 2013 when we did that Come Back to the Olympia and we showcased all that stuff on MD. People were saying, oh my God, I can't believe you guys are doing this for free. I would gladly pay for this. We're still doing it for free, but for now at least, we're able to somehow, you know, get something out of it instead of giving it to somebody else. You know, we should have done that a long time ago, but it's okay. Better late than never, right?
Well, I mean, it's just I think we do thrive off what people say to us.
Yeah.
But the positive comments mean a lot to us. They mean more to you than they do to me because you're on it reading them more.
Yeah.
Because you're all day like sitting there editing and you're the one posting the videos, right? So that's why I always credit so much to you because you're the backbone of the whole channel. I wouldn't sit here, as you guys know, I don't vlog a lot, which I need to start doing and adding them. I sent you the videos like last week.
That was great.
Because there's a lot of movement I do that really should be vlogged that you're not able to capture, right? You come here once or twice, 3-4 times a month.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously now it's going to be a little hectic. So the next month in April, I'm going to have to vlog some stuff because we may not be able to link up as much. And
I'll have to come during the week.
We want to keep continuous content for you guys. So, you know, it really helps. You know, with the feedback from the fans, and you know, we just don't want to get monotonous and show the same thing. But I think a lot of people I wanted to showcase. Okay, the guy behind the camera has a story too and has a dream. Right, because everything's about dreams, bro. My dream was to be a professional bodybuilder. Like, I loved lifting weights, and I'm like, man, could I make money doing this? And my dream was to move to California. We both had the same dream. Obviously, I was getting paid to go there, right. So it was a little different scenario. But at the same time, like, it's just, like, we all have what we do, and, you know, we just got to stay with it and keep following our dreams.
Yeah, you make a living doing what you really love, and that's not a job.
But chase it, man. What I think the moral of the whole thing is, don't fucking stop.
I know.
Don't stop. Don't give up. If you have a dream, you know, and you don't have dependents and everything else, like you didn't have kids at the time.
No, I left.
You were like, screw this. I'm just gonna lay it on the line. I'm gonna go after it. So the younger guys that, you know, aren't tied to anything necessary, and you think you can further your careers or what your lifestyle, your happiness. I think this really comes down to happiness, right? Yeah. Fucking chase it, man, and just do it. Don't let anyone tell you can't, because everyone will tell you can't do it. Everyone told me I couldn't do what I did, but I did it all.
You know what I like about the YouTube, and just I want to say this in clothing, is that since the very beginning that I've known you, I was always a big fan of you as a competitor, as an athlete and stuff. But when I got to know you as a friend, I liked you a lot more as a human being than I ever did as an athlete. And I think the YouTube's great because once we get comments all the time on YouTube, people say, "Oh, I didn't really like Jay back when he was competing," but now that I know more who he is as a person, I'm a huge fan.
You know, it's funny. I got a DM this morning, and hopefully this guy's watching, but he said, "I didn't like you a lot before I actually watched your YouTube stuff.
Yeah. Because
my demeanor and like I'm very serious and like I may look arrogant or like I don't say a lot, right? So people take it as like, oh, he's an asshole, right? But I'm just as normal as everyone, and I'm just not like I'm kind of not camera shy, but I'm an introvert, man. I'm not interactive. Like when you meet me, at the shows, I'm very conversational, but like I'm just one of these people that like I mind my own business. When I go to the gym, I just train because I'm like kind of focused. I'm just not a guy that liked being around a big group of people, and I still hate crowds to a certain extent, so I get a little nervous. But I've learned to be more patient, as you see at the trade events, right? I'm a lot more patient with people because I know that they're there for a reason, right? And I'm trying to influence people very positively on a daily basis. And I know people are nervous sometimes when they meet someone like me, but I'm so appreciative of like even the comments. Like, and listen, don't be afraid to tell me you thought I was a prick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people sometimes have, that misconception of people. But I never had arrogance or anything like that. It's more like, I just didn't have it's not lack of confidence, but it's just lack of someone that wants to be on film and talking about my life and telling you how great
you don't
things
seek
are. Attention. No,
it just
I'm not an
attention
guy. Like I could give a shit. I mean, I want to kind of be behind the scenes a little bit, but I'm always anxious to expose people that are around me that make me better, and that's why like it's good that we did this interview. I've been dying to get it on. We've been talking about it for weeks, right?
Yeah.
So it's always good for people to learn like your story a little bit too, and I think you're going to build some fans off of this, But he is a full-time bodybuilder.
Anyway,
he's getting ready for a show later this year. So let's cheer Dave on. We'll show his transformation as he trains back now. Coming off an injury, he's coming back to compete this year.
Yeah. So. Anyway, keep watching, you guys, and I really appreciate the fact that you get to know more Jay the way I know him, which I think is the most important thing, to get to know someone for real. And this is for real, so we're doing it for that reason, I think. So when I read those comments, people actually appreciate you as a person. It makes me happy because I feel I'm a part of that.
And thanks, Dr. Zach, for the shirts.
That's
Dave's
right.
Actually sporting your shirts today, so
we love you, man.
Shout out to Pumping Iron Gym out in the UK. Our boy Zach, you're our guy. I mean, since day one. So he's coming back to compete in the Cutler Classic next year. By the way,
yeah, I may have to do it.
It's his farewell.
That's it.
It's his farewell show.
He'll probably win then.
Yeah, he better. Zach, you better come win next year.
All right, thanks, Big J.
Take care.